You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Wednesday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby. I ask you a question. Are you tired of politics?
Yeah, totally. I'm sick of politics.
Doesn't it feel exhausting? Like, I know for what we do for a living, you and I have had off-air conversations many times about, like, what's going on in the political world. But it feels like now you can't get through any day or social situation without someone wanting to discuss politics with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you did scroll on any app, it's there, right?
This might be the worst year. We're only not even mid-March. This might be the worst year for internet comment sections of all time.
Dude, it's a double whammy right now because everything that's going on in the States, and apparently Mark Carney's going to call an election here before October. So, dude, you know what? Actually, the comment section is going to be a barren wasteland over the next few months.
It's just like for your own mental health. I don't know if anybody listening to this does those like online therapy, or maybe you go to a therapist or whatever. Let me give you the advice that maybe they won't. Just stay out of the comment section for the next 4 years. Does that feel safe?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
So yesterday we talked about the guy who shot himself in the foot after trying to kill a cockroach.
Yeah, you just unloading the gun there, and things happened.
Well, I've got a new story for you involving someone getting shot.
Yay, gun violence.
A man allegedly told officers that his dog shot him while he was laying in bed, relaxing and talking with a female Monday morning around 4 a.m.
He was too busy with the lady, and he wouldn't tell me I was a good boy.
Check this out. He claims that the dog jumped on the bed.
Okay.
Got his paw stuck in the trigger guard, ended up hitting the trigger, and he was grazed in his top left thigh.
Can I ask the question maybe this article doesn't go into of why was there a gun on the bed?
It does not say. Also, when the cops got there, this female was not at the house, and apparently she decided to take the gun, maybe just to get it away from the dog.
So, sorry, let's just put this whole thing in perspective. So, man is in bed with woman late on a Monday. All of a sudden, dog jumps up on bed where there is a gun, steps on the trigger, shoots man in leg. And the woman's like, well, looks like you've got a mess to clean up, so I'm just going to take this gun and get out of here.
It sounds like this guy just should have took his dog for a walk. The dog was probably pissed off.
Just give him a treat before bed next time.
That is like the craziest version of my dog ate my homework I've ever heard.
We blame a lot of things on the dog, from like making messes to even who farted in the room.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody be like, officer, the dog shot me in the leg.
That is literally the sketch bag version of my dog ate my homework.
This poor dog is going to catch a charge now.
Yeah. It sounds like, to me, what it sounds like is this guy was hanging out with a lady of the night.
Sure.
And she shot him.
Right. There was some dispute on money owed or money exchanged.
I've watched a lot of Cops before. This sounds like something straight out of that.
This sounds like the greatest episode of To Serve and Protect I've ever seen.
It's like when you see those people get pulled over and they find drugs on them and they're like, I don't know whose those could be.
Those are my dogs.
Yeah.
My dog's been really sad lately, and I'm pretty sure he's into heroin now.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We got Tracy on the phone. Tracy, what's the adult equivalent of my dog ate my homework?
The kids ruined everything.
Are we just speaking in general, or
that honestly, that speaks to me.
No matter what you have planned, the kids ruined everything.
Why couldn't you come into work when we needed someone to cover? The kids. I couldn't get rid of the kids. Why couldn't you come out? I had the kids. Why were you not at inventory? My kids were crapping all over the house. I couldn't go anywhere.
The kids ruined everything.
So what you're saying is kids are exactly like dogs?
Yes.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable being the one to say it out loud, but like if I nod in your direction, will you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not afraid to admit it. My youngest just moved out and then we got a puppy. The kids are exactly like dogs.
A lot of people texted in at 762-555 the same thing, but then also, I mean, BS excuses just in general, like traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't see that email. My phone was dead.
Dude, there's so many things with tech now that have opened the door for people who are late. Like you mentioned emails. There are so many. I typed it out, but it didn't send. It must have gotten stuck in my junk email. I don't think I was CC'd on this.
Just seeing this now.
I'm just getting the notification.
Sorry,
right
I wasn't
now.
looking at my phone.
I was in a dead zone. My Wi-Fi wasn't working.
The phone is the new, my dog ate my homework excuse.
And you can even combine it. My kid knocked my phone into the toilet.
Yeah.
I couldn't get your email.
Do you know how many guys use, their spouses as,
yeah.
their homework kind of excuse? Right?
Listen, I would love to come in and work a little bit of overtime today, but the missus is not going to allow that. She's not going to be happy about
It's
this.
kids, it's phones, it's girlfriends, and diarrhea, you know?
Well, that's diarrhea is the old standby. If times change, I crap my pants never stops working.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I was laughing my ass off at Trump's big Tesla advertisement yesterday.
You know, I've always thought the White House is just this massive plot of land, and I know there's offices and stuff. They got a lot of work done in there, but it feels like it just takes up a lot of space. And to turn the front driveway into a car dealership, brilliant business move.
I saw after that whole thing, apparently 70% of Canadians want to suspend Tesla sales here in Canada because of Elon Musk and all that crap.
Well, I mean, Elon's been at the forefront with Donald Trump and the whole 51st state propaganda, all that nonsense. So, there's been a declining sort of feeling towards Teslas. But yeah, basically having them being hawked from the front lawn of the White House probably didn't help that.
I've been ahead of the curve way before this. I've always hated Teslas, and specifically the drivers. A lot of them are D-bags. I'm not going to lie.
You know what? I'll give you credit. Even when I was still I would love to get a Tesla someday, you were at the forefront of Teslas suck.
I'm not going to lie. You know, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes you can judge someone by their car. I feel like Tesla drivers, they always act like they're better than you.
Yeah, well, it's the EVs in general, and I say this as someone whose next car will likely be an EV or at least a hybrid of some kind. I love the idea of it. But much like veganism and CrossFit, a product can be a good thing, but it can be ruined by the worst people.
Even if you see one of those Tesla charger stations, they get out of their car and they've got this weird swagger to them, they think they're better than you.
They drive by the gas station, see you at the pump, and go... Fossil fuels.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Some of them have those lame-ass license plates, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Just judging people who don't have a Tesla.
Also, I feel like if a guy has a Tesla, he probably won't stop talking about his Tesla.
It is one of those things. But I mean, when you think about it, even Donald Trump yesterday talking about Teslas is bragging about how there's as cheap as $35,000. Someone got a picture. He had a script with all the prices. If I paid that much for a car, I'd probably brag about it all the time, too.
Tesla is like the veganism of cars.
That's basically what it is.
Is what it is, yeah.
Nobody asked you if you drive a Tesla, but you made sure everybody in the room knew.
Tesla right now is honestly a cult, is what it is.
It basically is, which makes sense, because you have to be on something to drive a Cybertruck.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We have been asking you guys to text in different makes and models of vehicles so that Brock can sort of go through and give us his thoughts on what your vehicle says about you. I'm surprised at how many BMW Mercedes drivers we have on the show today.
I mean, that one's the obvious, easy answer. I think that goes with the Tesla of still kind of the douche canoe.
Yeah.
We know you guys don't use your turn signals. You drive very aggressive on the road.
Also, I'm still a little bit jealous of your car. A little bit. Just a little bit. We also got a lot of people who are just I drive a big lifted truck.
I mean, you already know. We already know. You're compensating for something. Or short guy.
Yeah.
Which is still compensating for something, maybe?
There's nothing crazier than seeing a truck with a massive lift kit and then one of those automatic foot things drops so low and a little fella get out.
Yeah, you got to take a parachute to get out.
Some of the other ones that I'm seeing here on the text line, 762-555, minivan is a popular one.
I mean, obviously, you have kids, or you deal drugs, or you're a painter.
It really is a very diverse vehicle.
That's like the top three, you know?
I used to actually drive one of these for work. Hummer.
You're terrible at parking?
Yeah, I mean,
you probably don't care about the environment. You're like the opposite of a Tesla, but you still fall in that D-bag kind of category.
It's so hard to park those things. Subarus.
I feel like you're either very outdoorsy or you're someone who has never been on a hike, but you eat Cliff Bars. That's accurate, right?
I feel like that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
This one here says, I drive a Ford Explorer. What do you got for me?
I mean, I just assume you're a cop.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before.
Honestly.
And I hate you.
Buicks.
You're retired.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it's like an old man car.
You know, you're talking about Tesla, sort of the original save the world car. What about the Prius?
You're an Uber driver. I don't know why every Uber I get in lately is a Prius or some sort of hybrid.
Something, on that level. A Miata.
Brother, you're having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, and a weird midlife crisis in 2025, to be honest.
Yeah.
Corvettes?
Kind of same thing, but you're probably divorced.
That's fair. Range Rover is one that I'm seeing a couple times.
That's another one. I think you're like rich or you're a drug dealer.
You know, we talk about this one all the time. We haven't touched on Jeeps yet.
Ooh, if it's a Wrangler, it's a female. It's always a female if it's a Wrangler, specifically.
Let's do two more. I see a lot of Camrys in here.
That's like a weird mix of old person and like teenager first car.
Okay, and let's wrap up with Jaguars.
Bald guy.
I do not drive a Jaguar.
You ever seen anyone get out of a Jaguar that has hair?
A full head of hair?
Not true.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe some that they should have let go a while ago.
Yeah. It's receding fast, just like a Jaguar.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Did you know Volkswagen sells sausages?
You know, I can safely say I don't think I had that knowledge.
Apparently, a couple of years ago, Volkswagen started to actually sell their own bratwurst, or rather currywurst.
Okay.
And they made a huge announcement saying in 2024 that they sold over 8.5 million sausages.
Wow. I mean, I don't have like a global market idea of what a successful sausage company looks like, but that sounds like a lot of meat.
Look at this packaging. It just has the Volkswagen logo on it. I don't know if I trust it, though.
Wouldn't that be a turnoff if you went into the meat aisle and saw a big VW?
No pun intended. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I would just have assumed if any of the companies that make vehicles was going to do it, I think it would be Yamaha.
Yeah?
Yamaha makes everything. I'm surprised they don't make hot dogs.
Now, based on the whole emissions scandal thing that Volkswagen had a few years ago, what do you think burns cleaner, a VW Bug or a VW sausage?
I did hear they reportedly use cows and pigs that produce less emissions than other cows and pigs.
Just saving the world one link at a time.
I want to try a Volkswiener now.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
I want you to take a guess here and see if you can finish this headline. An Air India flight was forced to return to the United States because...
Oh, is this one of those, so many planes are hitting birds now. Somebody hit a bird?
Nothing to do with birds.
Did somebody not put their cell phone in airplane mode?
Nothing to do with cell phones.
Was there somebody like freaking out on board? Someone causing a disturbance?
Surprisingly, no.
What else would cause a plane to turn around? Like, did a wing fall off or something? Like, what?
No. Are you ready?
Okay.
Air India flight forced to return to the United States over clogged toilets in a 10-hour debacle. Apparently, the toilets were clogged. They had to ask people to stop using the facilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
But like those airplane bathrooms, they use like the real hard suction to pull everything out of there.
And apparently it got so stinky on board and everyone was complaining on the plane that they had to divert and just land just so they could clear the pipes.
Kids, let's get everybody out of here. What kind of work do you have to be doing in an airplane bathroom to clog the system?
Also, 10 hours, brother, I would have just faked a heart attack to get them to land the plane. Like,
at some point, a medical emergency might be the better option.
Light up a cigarette, be a hero or something at that point, you know?
Take this plane back now.
Now, the best part is they claim that it wasn't one specific person. They're trying to say it was a backup, which I'm not buying because they always clear that stuff before they take off.
Well, that's my understanding when we're sitting out on the runway inside the plane for 45 minutes before we can go. I'm always told it's one of two things. Either they're de-icing the plane in the wintertime or they're clearing everything out before we go.
I think it's one of those things if they just didn't want to single out one person on the plane.
Right. Everybody saw that one person go into the bathroom before the problem started.
Dude, clogging a toilet on a plane is an absolute nightmare. That's like that Dumb and Dumber like scene where he clogs it on the date.
Oh, and he's in the girl's house and she's like, make sure you don't flush that toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That would be so... Like, that's the thing, right? Especially because... you have to walk by every single passenger up to the clearly designated washroom area.
That might be the worst spot to clog a toilet.
It'd be tough to find it because, again, not only will everybody know that it's you, but as we see in this story, there's nothing that you can do. You're all trapped with the clog now.
I mean, everyone's just a stranger on the plane, but everybody would know it's you as soon as they saw you coming out of the smell, everything.
That's just it. Like, there's going to be some giveaways.
You know what is the worst place to clog a toilet? I mean, plane, on a date at someone's house.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about plane, you have to talk about bus.
Oh, dude, bus is even worse.
Bus is worse, except for the fact that you can roll the windows down on a bus.
Yeah.
Which is not great in the wintertime, but at least it's not a plane where you're all going to die.
Goes from a Greyhound to a Brownhound real quick.
Oh, God.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
What is the worst place to clog a toilet?
In jail. General population.
Like the common toilet?
Yeah.
Is this speaking from experience by any chance, or?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Oh, no.
So, how'd that work out for you?
I was staying on the list. Yeah, I was saying it was a good, healthy size one. And the good old jail food.
Now, let me ask you this, because obviously clogging like the common toilet where everybody goes, that's not great for your social standing. But wouldn't it be worse to clog the one in your cell?
Yeah, especially if you're by yourself, it's all right. But if it's
got a roommate,
if you got a roommate, you just got. Well, I think it is always cover the toilet anyways. Put a piece of newspaper over top of it.
No toilet wine that week, eh? Man, owning up to that would suck so bad.
Well, I mean, everybody's gonna know, right? It's very similar to the airplane of like, we all saw you go in there.
Yeah.
And now no one can go in there.
I think the better question is if you clog a toilet, do you own up to it?
I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Like, I think in a situation like that, you would rather get in front of it and be like, boys, I ate bad food.
You don't want to get shanked over clogging the toilet.
Right. Like, I think in that situation, you want to tell people, but I will say, I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to confrontation.
Well, let's put a situation here on the plate. You're at a friend's house.
Okay.
All right, it's a party.
Sure.
Super Bowl party, let's say.
Okay.
You go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You clog the toilet. You can't find the plunger anywhere.
Oh.
Do you come back and say something?
I think the thing is, especially like if it's at a party, people are going to notice that you went to the bathroom. So you've got two choices. You can either say, I clogged the toilet. Or you've got to come out of there and go, I don't know who was in there before
You
me,
pass the buck.
but they clogged the toilet.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a risky play because you are throwing someone under the bus with that.
Yeah.
The safest option is probably to tell.
Well, I mean, if you try to like pass the turd to someone else, everyone's just going to be thinking like that was you.
That was probably
That was you.
Let me ask you a scenario. You go to a gas station. You don't know the guy or gal working behind the counter. You may never even see each other again. You clog the toilet. Do you come out and go, I'm so sorry, but there's a mess in there?
No way.
Or do you just key on the desk and walk out with
No
the day?
way, dude. No way. Owning up to that is even more embarrassing than in front of your friends. To go up to the guy at Circle K and be like, hey, my bad.
See, but yeah, I know I'm going to go to my friend's house again sometimes. If I clog the toilet at a Circle K, I just never go back there ever again. There are options.
Sorry, I left a Polar Pop in there for you.
Oh, God.
The Brock and Dobby Podcast.
It's very rarely a good idea to take your clothes off in public. Saw a story about a fella who got into a car crash after he stole a car, led the authorities on a pursuit, crashed into the ditch, and then tried to flee on foot. Apparently, once he got out of the car, he decided he would be able to run faster if he took off all of his clothes.
I mean, there is a science behind that. He is technically more aerodynamic.
He doesn't have the drag of his shirt and jeans
Yeah.
holding him back. Best part about it is this man from New Hampshire's name, Sean Wiener Sr.
Sorry, say that again. Sean Wiener Sr.?
Sean Wiener Sr. was arrested for indecent exposure, lewdness, and reckless conduct from stealing and driving the car.
That is amazing.
Why is this a thing in human brains that, like, when you're in a bad or stressful situation, you take your clothes off? Like, it's like all the guys who, like, you see get in fights and they right away start peeling off layers?
I mean, I've seen tarps off. I got to level with you. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get in a fight and just get down in their buck.
Well, I will say, yeah, though that's probably a stage that you don't get to at your average bar fight.
I would just hate to be the cop that had to tackle him.
Well, not even just the cop, because like the cops are at least being paid to deal with this situation. But this guy crashed his car, causing a snarl in traffic, and then as part of his escape route was like running and dodging in between cars. Just imagine you and Courtney are just out for a drive, and all of a sudden here comes old naked Sean Wiener Sr. rubbing up against your hood, trying to get away from the authorities. Yeah. You're just like, oh no, please back off. Please don't touch that.
I'd be getting a car wash for sure, but then even think about the cop that's got to clean his back seat after that. Like, what do? You get him a blanket?
That's true. I didn't even think about it.
Gonna need some Lysol wipes.
He took his clothes off at the scene. If you finally catch him and arrest him, do you then take him back over and be like, all right, put your underwear on. Mm-hmm. Put your underwear on before you get back to my car.
Does he have to sit in the holding cell naked?
At what point do they clothe the naked man after he's been arrested?
Yeah.
Assuming that they just put him in the car as is, they do not make him get dressed. How long after arriving at the prison or the jail does he find his way into some sort of covering?
Depending on his development, that's a great intimidation method as you go into the cell, you know?
Say, you got to make a real impact if you're going into jail.
Yeah.
Walking in there buck naked might have that effect.
This is the Brock and Delby Podcast.
Could only be a matter of time before grocery shopping somehow manages to get more frustrating, more annoying. You ever heard of Tesco?
No.
They are a UK chain of grocery stores, similar to a Loblaws or a Metro. They are test driving a new policy wherein they have built trolley scales or cart scales in front of the self-checkout. So you now have to weigh your cart before you go to self-checkout so that it can match the weight of your cart, the weight of your items, with what you've paid for it.
So it's kind of like when you go into the dump and they weigh you on the way in, weigh you on the way out.
Basically, that's exactly what it is. And the idea is to, what they say, cut down on accidental theft. Because they don't want to tell you, like, we're tired of you guys stealing from us. They're saying it's accidental.
Damn, no more forgetting about that case of water under your cart.
No more accidentally walking out to the parking lot with a case of pop.
It's just in the self-checkout, though?
It so far seems to be just in the self-checkout. So if you are the type that's like, oh,
what if you don't have a shopping cart, though? Are they going to make you just jump on the scale yourself, and are they going to weigh you specifically?
Well, I assume if you're just carrying things that are like in your hand, they're probably not as worried about you.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people go through the self-checkout. You scan like a bottle of something, whatever, and then you got your pockets loaded up.
Right,
know?
But I think at that point, like, that's just straight up shoplifting. Like, they're already kind of looking for people pocketing stuff.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is like, you can't just weigh people, is the thing. Because people would get so upset.
100%.
I don't even like stepping on the scale at my own house, let alone having to do it at the grocery store.
No, from what I can tell, it's just for carts, and then also maybe, the wording in the BBC article is a little off, but it might also be for, like, if you're a basket person.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't take it up for a cart, but I've got a basket. You put the basket down, it gives a quick weight, and then it just judges that. And again, if this is successful over there, if they see a decrease in loss prevention, it's 100% coming over here.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just another thing that, one, treats all of us like we're thieves, even though a lot of you are, if we're being honest. And also, this is taking away the few jobs that there already are at the self-checkout in most grocery stores. Because they usually have like a couple people floating in that area, one, to fix your self-checkout if it stops working for whatever reason. But there are literally people whose job it is to just like keep an eye on people's carts and baskets to make sure everything's making it up onto the scale.
You couldn't pay me enough to confront someone stealing at the self-checkout, though.
That's just it. I would be a terrible self-checkout employee, because if I saw that case of water under your cart and I saw you didn't take it out, I would high-five you on the way.
I'm not saying I condone stealing or anything, but I think we've all been there where you see that case of water and you're like, nobody knows.
Nobody noticed
that. You start feeling like you're in Ocean's 11 all of a sudden.
Dude, I remember when I was a kid, I used to freak out. We walked out with, I think it was a case of club soda. My mom's a big club soda person. Mm-hmm. And we realized when we got out to the car that she was like, oh, this was underneath. I forgot to pay for this. And I was like, we need to go back in. We need to go back in and tell them they're going to come for
snitch.
us. I never told anybody until right now. I feel like the statute of limitations is probably passed. But at the time, I thought the cops were going to kick our door down and drag us out. Now, meanwhile, I'm like, oh, man, I don't think I scanned the right type of tomato. Oh, well.
In this economy, if you forget,
you forget,
you know?
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast. Would you rather? Wednesday. Would you rather Wednesday?
All right, let's get weird. 762-555. You got a would you rather question. You can still fire it in here. First one on the text line says, would you rather hang out with Elon Musk or Donald Trump?
Oh, God.
I think you got to take Elon Musk because if you get the chance, you could deprogram him.
I don't think so.
You sneak up behind him, unplug one of the wires, do society a favor.
I feel like Elon Musk in a private sitting would be insufferable. Whereas at least with Donald Trump, if I could sweet talk him for a short period of time, say nice things about him, I could maybe get him to like give me a golf course or something. You know what I'm talking about? He just seems more easily manipulated, whereas Musk just seems like he would just be smug the whole time.
What's another one here? Would you rather have to wear leather pants all the time or wet socks?
Oh, God, that's a tough... I think I would take the wet socks.
I mean...
I hate the feeling of wet socks.
I don't think either of us can squeeze into leather pants is the problem.
That's the problem. I feel like if I put on a pair of leather pants, it could become a serious circulation
Imagine
issue.
swash season with those things.
Dude, your socks are going to get wet anyway just from the runoff from your leg drip.
I would never sit down. I would literally never sit down. Oh, it's another one here. Would you rather be in a hot car without AC or a car without music?
Oh, hot car without AC, I think.
Yeah?
I think I would rather... I don't like being in quiet places, especially like if you're on a long road trip with no sound whatsoever. I can roll the window down. You know what I'm talking? Like I can roll the window down, get a breeze going. It's maybe not going to be the most comfortable, but it's going to be more comfortable than me sitting with my own thoughts.
That's true. You know what? That's the best point you probably could have made right there. Someone says, would you rather be trapped in a mall and being chased by a gorilla or 5 black mambas? Gorilla all day.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I could see them, I could more effectively deal with the black mambas.
I can't do snakes, A, and then B, you're right. Like, the snakes are going to slither through places and you can't find them versus the gorilla, I can see it, and then if you just act like a little baby, then it might
leave you alone.
Yeah.
Might take care of you.
Yeah.
Carry you to safety.
Some George of the Jungle stuff.
I feel like there's more places to hide from a gorilla, whereas like I would hate to let my guard down and then all of a sudden a mamba bites my ass.
Exactly. All right, we'll wrap up with this one here. It says, would you rather have a tiny booty right under your nose or a giant nose right above your booty?
I think I would rather the tiny booty under my nose, because then you could twerk it when you like wiggled your lip. And that would be like...
Imagine missing your mouth with food, though.
Accidentally butt chugging your dinner?
Dude, that would suck.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Let's see what he's got.
Good morning to you. Today's word is sang-froid. Yeah, sang-froid. Sangfroid. Sang-froid. All right. It's composure or coolness under pressure. That's a good way to be. Sang-froid. All right. Anyways, that's just about does it. Have a great one. Cheers up.
All right, let's see if the pronunciation is right.
Sang-froid.
Sang-froid. This is a fun word to say. It rolls off the tongue. I guess the best example I can think of is like if you ever watch an action movie where the hero walks away from the exploding building or car, he's showing a lot of sang-froid.
Yeah. Athletes, they got to keep their sang-froid.
That's right. Yeah. If you're running a race, you don't want to start early. You got to keep your sang-froid on the start line.
Yeah. Sang-froid.
Sang-froid.
Keep it sang-froid today, all right?
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.